It's good to be here. I was looking forward to this conversation or this chat with you today. I am going to talk a little bit about Umpqua Bank, but I do want to talk a little bit about the future. I want to talk a little bit about what I think is going on, at least the view from my bridge, how it impacts you as marketing officers, chief marketing officers within your institutions, what it means to the brand. I know you're here to learn and to hopefully come up with great ideas that will enable you to sustain the relevancy of your brand, your institution, well into the future. So I encourage you to get involved in the breakout sessions and do listen to the speakers and hopefully come up with a couple of good ideas. I know I've sat in the same chairs that you're sitting in, and if I get one or two good ideas out of it, so many times it makes the whole conference worthwhile. So let me talk about the role of marketing. Role of marketing, chief marketing officers, marketing officers. And I'm in a room with almost, 1,500 of you, so this is a dangerous comment to say, but I'm going to say it, so nobody throw anything at me. I believe strongly that traditional bank marketing is dead. Dead. Not dying, dead. Stop and think about it. If you're not running an ad these days, or if you are running an ad or a collateral or whatever it is you're developing, and if it's maybe not even doing this today, but if it wasn't a rate ad to get people to line up outside your bank to walk in, it's very difficult to really make an impact, I have found, because most of bank advertising sort of disappears into the ether. And we've all seen great ads on TV. You have all developed incredible marketing materials, where you, especially on television, where you see the grandfather hugging the little boy, and it makes you feel good. And you look at your wife or your significant other and say, what do you think of that ad? Well, that was great. That was really heartwarming. I love that bank. That's really a great ad. Are you going to run down there and open a checking account? No, I don't think so. And it's just unfortunate. That's just too many times, that's the way it happens. So stop and think about it. I think, let me tell you what I did in 2005. Some of you might have heard me speak before and have heard some of this. 2005, I was on a vacation. I was sitting around a pool, sort of trying to figure out what I wanted to do next with the bank. And one of the things that dawned on me was this whole issue of bank marketing is really not what it used to be, and it's probably not going to be what it was. It has the potential to be something much bigger and greater. And I was looking at within the Umpqua Bank organization, and we have, in those days, we had the traditional titles of everybody. We had the chief marketing officer, we had the chief financial officer, we had the HR director, worst title in the history of any company, actually. And I got to thinking, I said, it's not descriptive of what they're doing. And if you stop and think about it, I think too many marketing officers, this is my opinion, some of you are going to really disagree with my comments today, that because I'm a marketing officer, I have a very narrow window. I have a narrow avenue that I'm looking down in the way that, what my job entails. And we can go through the list of things, from marketing, advertising, collateral, all different types of things that you do. To me, that's too narrow. And I think the description itself makes it too narrow. And what I was trying to do that summer day, was try to figure out how I can expand the horizons of the executives who work for me. And I got to think, and I asked myself, so what do I want these people to do? So, for example, when I thought about HR, which, you think about somebody stamping you with a number on your head and standing in line, I asked what I want them to do. And HR, I don't care about HR. What I do care about is I want this division of our bank to enhance the culture of Umpqua, So it was easy. So they became the Cultural Enhancement Division of our bank, which entailed all of the so-called HR things that were out there. Marketing. Had a marketing gal that's worked for me. Some of you have met her, Lonnie Hayward, terrific gal. Been with me for almost 20 years. Head of marketing, executive vice president of marketing. And I came back and I said, not anymore. I said, what do I want the marketing department to do? What is your boss, your CEO? What do they want the marketing department to do? My attitude is, the view from my bridge is real simple. I want you to create strategies that enhance the brand of my company. I want you to help me sustain our organization well into the future, no matter what we face. Good times, bad times, technology, whatever it may be. So that department became creative strategies. And by doing that one simple act, I can tell you, it broadened the horizon of our entire marketing team. They went from marketing to creative strategies. Creative strategies touches everything within the bank. every single thing that we do. And I challenge you to think about that. Think about how your role is viewed, how you view your role, and what are you doing, what does that department do actually to help sustain the relevancy of your bank and your brand. So one of the challenges you have every single day, every business that you bank every single day, is trying to answer a fundamental question. And the fundamental question is, how do we differentiate ourselves, right? Marketing officers, you get this? How do we differentiate ourselves so people want to bank with us, so people want to, I call it shop. People want to shop with us because we really are peddling products and services, aren't we? And we really are, in some ways, retailers. We're just retailers of financial products. But if I want them to do business with me, I've got to come up with some creative strategies to bring them in. And I don't mean that we buy them. So let me talk about Umpqua real quick. I won't talk long about Umpqua, but I'll give you a real quick snapshot. In 1994, when I came to the bank, it was small, and we were trying to figure out, as I looked around, how can I differentiate this bank? It's the same question that we face today. How can I differentiate this bank so I stand out? I was competing against all the large national chains, credit unions, other community banks. I mean, it was boring. I mean, nobody was doing anything of significance. So how can I stand out? And I went through this process elimination. I called it a murder mystery, sort of, where you go through and you determine, okay, what can you not do? You know, who are the bad guys that didn't do it? And you scratch them off. And I knew that I couldn't out-computer the big guys. I couldn't out-resource the big guys. I couldn't out-cash the big guys, whatever it is. You know, I couldn't out-price the big guys. That's impossible. So I'm not going to differentiate myself that way. And let's face it, our products are a commodity, right? All of our products are a commodity. Everybody sells the same product in this room. You put different colored checks together, different terms on a loan, but they're all the same stuff. I mean, they are all the same. So if they're a commodity and there's no way we can out-resource the big guys, how are you going to do it? And so the last man standing was actually the greatest weakness that Umpqua Bank had at that time. And that weakness was our size. We were dinky. We were a little small bank. And I turned that around. I said, let's make that our strength. Our strength is that we can out-deliver the larger institutions because we can adapt and adopt to change faster than they can, hands down. But in doing so, doesn't mean we just get better at what we're doing. What we've got to do is turn it inside out. And I went to the board in my early days and said, look, don't hire me to run this organization if you're not prepared to throw out every single thing you know about community banking, because we're going to start over. We have to start over. So our people were trained by Ritz-Carlton. We came up with our new delivery, the stores, which some of you have heard about. We really worked on the customer experience, and the culture that grew out of that has become well-known throughout the industry, and the company obviously grew rapidly organically, which was the true test. And because of their organic growth, we had the opportunity to also acquire institutions, which really, sort of gave us a shot in the arm. We looked for inspiration in all different types of companies. I had my people do field trips. I put them in buses, I put them on airplanes, I put them on trains, and I said, you go to these companies and you take your little clipboard, and I want you to go, don't tell me how they're doing things. I want you to tell me what your senses tell you. What do you see, smell, touch, hear? Come back and tell me how we use those things in our bank. And so we sent them to companies like Disney, we sent them to Ritz-Carlton, we sent them to Nordstrom, we sent them to Starbucks, we sent them to all these companies that are fairly well known for the level of service experience you get. And they came back with all these ideas. And it was interesting, some of the ideas somebody would say, well, look, we can't do this because we're a bank. This is a crazy idea, we can't do this. And I said, wait a minute, what if we bent it like this and painted it green? Maybe we could use it. Let's not rule these things out. We came up with some terrific ideas, which helped us stand out. So the fact that we had differentiated ourselves successfully was critical for us, and it was very, very successful. And I think you guys have to ask yourself that question all the time. How are you standing out? And you cannot say customer service, because everybody in this room says customer service, their customer service is great. That's not a differentiator anymore, is it? It's been overused. So you've got to come up with something different. So that was 1994, the early days. Fast forward, 2017. Here we are in 2017, and we're in the face of this revolutionary technological changes that are coming at all of us at the speed of sound, right? Just when we think we've got one thing figured out, your app says you've got an upgrade, and there's more information you've got to have. It's incredible how fast things are coming at us. And yet we face the same question. How are we going to differentiate our bank today? Okay, at Umpqua Bank, we're known for our customer service and the culture that we provide our customers, but we also know that if we just stop there and try to get just a little bit better every day, we're going to fail. People are going to catch up. They're going to pass us by because of technology. It's that simple. So, how do you do it? I said earlier that our banking products are a commodity, and they truly are. I believe, and there are technology people who will disagree with me strongly on this, but I also believe in a lot of ways that technologies that we use in our institutions are also becoming a commodity. They're available. They don't cost as much. You can get the app. It's amazing how much the technology basically does the same thing. The test is, for you in your marketing divisions, is how do you use that technology to differentiate your bank? It's not the technology you have. It's how are you using the technology uniquely different to create an experience your customers can't get anywhere else. That's your challenge. And it's not an easy one. But we've got to answer that same question that we asked back in 1994. We do that all the time within our organization. We're asking it and actually doing something about it, I can say, which is something I'll talk about in just a second. As we think about this, we also have to think about change and the speed of change because of what's happening in technology, whether we like it or not. I gave a talk not too long ago, and the title of the talk was Change is Changing. And I had a whole bunch of people looking at me like, what the heck are you, what? And it is. Change is changing. It's coming at us much faster than it was. It's much, much faster. And you've got to be able to move quick. You've got to get things done. You've got to somehow go back into your banks, your financial institutions, and take away the fear of the unknown. Because whenever you use the four-letter word change, and a lot of people see it as a four-letter word, I promise you, the first thing they want to know is, what about me? How's that? Whoa. Is my job okay? Is my salary not going to be okay? That's what they want to know. And you guys are leaders. And leaders, your main job description as a leader is to motivate and inspire the people that work for you. And you can't do that unless you can take the fear of the unknown away from them. And that means you've got to educate them on what the changes mean. Good change, bad change, whatever it is. People can handle the truth, I promise you. If it's bad news, tell them so they can deal with it. If it's great news, super, they're going to like it. When you think about change and the speed of it, and I think you agree with me, it's pretty rapid. But then look within our industry. And I think that the financial industry is actually much slower than the rest of the world. And the ability for the institutions to change has been very, very slow. There was a survey done the other day, and 51%, listen to this, 51% of CEOs that surveyed believe that the speed of business innovation is too fast. 51% think it's too fast? We got bad news for those cats. They're in for a shock. This is just getting started. It's just getting started. So think about the acceptance curve of technologies. The PC came out, it was like, what the heck is this? And it just was like this, and then all of a sudden it took off. Think about mobile banking. It's at 20%, I think, in industry-wide. It's going to go to, it'll probably go up 20% a year from now on. The acceptance of all of these technologies is growing rapidly. And of course, on top of all that, we've got the digital world that is changing everything, isn't it? It's changing everything you do. 55% of Americans now, I'm told, use the internet to manage their banking relationships. And that acceptance curve is going to go up much, much faster. So we've got to adapt. We have to change faster. You have a role in doing that. You have a role in going back to your CEO, your supervisor, your boss, whoever it may be, and to build that momentum to explain to them the need for change. Because staying the same, listen to this, staying the same is too expensive. And it's too hard. Think about it. If you don't believe me, jump into the deep end of a swimming pool and tread water. How long can you do it? Not forever. You can't stay the same. You're either going to swim to the edge and get out, or you're going to sink to the bottom. That's not a good outcome. So like I say, I believe it's much easier and less expensive to either get better or to get worse. But don't think about staying the same. Everybody will pass you by. So at Umpqua, we decided that we had to change, we had to adapt, At the end of 2015, I announced the creation of a new company that Umpqua Holdings, our holding company, owns. It's called Pivotus. Some of you might have heard of it. A lot of you probably have not. Located in Silicon Valley, and Pivotus is a technological innovator that we created. It's to create a one-of-a-kind digital banking platform that does not exist in banking today. And by doing so, the mission was pretty aggressive. By doing so is to make the bank much more efficient than it is today, however you want to measure that, efficiency ratios, whatever, while we add top-line revenue and at the same time take the customer experience of Umpqua Bank up 10 floors. That's the mission. We announced it in December of 15. We actually got operational probably 5 or 6 months after that, and I'm pleased to tell you that in 9 to 10 months, this company is already in pilot at Umpqua Bank with this digital banking platform. We are already in pilot. We have 1,000 of our customers that are actually using this digital banking platform on their iPhones, their smartphones. And it's pretty cool. In doing so, we're using voice, video, text, all kinds of chat technologies, micro apps to address the financial needs, life events, and how they do business, how our customers do business with small business, and how does small business do business with their customers. Great, a lot of data. And when I travel throughout the United States, and I'll ask you a rhetorical question, one you should be asking yourself, what is the digital banking strategy for your institution? Let me give you a tip. When I've been out in the States, and I've talked to many CEOs, all different sizes, and I ask that question, and they don't like being asked that question, so be careful. And when I get the answer I get way too often is, well, Ray, what are you talking about? We've got an online banking system. We have bill pay. We're on the web. I mean, we're digital. And I look at them and I say, that's not the question you're not answering the question I asked. Because what you just described might be one street of a city of streets in the digital world of finance. What I want to know is what are the rest of the streets? And they can't answer that. That's your job. You've got to sit down and figure some of this out. You've got to get your technology guys in the room. You've got to get the people that help you create strategies in your room. And you got to figure out how we're going to differentiate our bank. You cannot ignore technology. You cannot. It's so important to determine how are you going to use it, and that will make the difference, I promise you. Now, I hate to warn you all the time, but let me warn you one other thing, which is difficult, and that's a change, the 4-letter word change. Because there is the biggest change. In fact, there was an article written just the other day. Some of you probably saw it in the American Banker. I thought it was an excellent article. It was written by the CEO of the Lumi Group, a big Israeli bank. This is the CEO who wrote it. Let me quote this to you. It's really good. The quote is, in the not-too-distant future, once millennials and tech-oriented consumers become the majority of our customer base, disruption will cease to be a threat. It will be a fact. In this transformation, the main challenge for the leaders of the banking industry, that's everybody in this room, is managing the change by overcoming internal resistance, tolerating risk of failure, and avoiding the temptation to focus on the short term. This requires vision and strong ambition. Your role as your chief marketing officers of your financial institutions, as the marketing officer, is to help the CEOs, old guys like me that don't know all there is to know about technology and maybe how marketing is supposed to work. But your job is to help figure that out. And it's, as I said, it's not an easy job. And I hope of all hopes, and as you do this, think about this, because I say this, I hope you are so successful in doing that. And the reason I say that, because you're not my competition. The people in this room, we don't compete anymore. The toughest competition are going to be the fintechs. It's going to be when Amazon and other Google and these companies create their bank with no cost, no facilities. How are you going to compete? And you can't say, well, my customers are loyal to me, they'll never leave. I promise you, they'll leave. we've got a huge revolution that's facing us. I consider this a revolutionary train that's on the track, and it's moving at all of us at the speed of sound. I know you have the capability of doing it. I've seen it. I've seen it in our institution. I've seen it in other institutions I've been to. I've seen it outside of our industry, and I encourage you to step outside of the industry to find ideas that you can take back into your organization. People ask me often, they say, Ray, where did you come up with this idea or that idea? And I'm not afraid to tell them. I copied it. I discovered it over here somewhere. And I changed it a little bit, and I like it, so I used it. I don't know how creative I am, but I know that I need to do my job in motivating and inspiring my people is to make sure that we're moving this institution forward, that we are, and this is my favorite expression, trying to figure out how to sustain the relevancy of Umpqua Bank well into the future. And as you go through your couple of days here, as you look at all the different things that you're going to be looking at and the different speakers that are talking to you, I hope you write that down. How will that help me sustain the relevancy of my bank? And you're going to come across 2 or 3 really good ideas. And I encourage you to figure out how to get them implemented in your organization. Thanks.